Well, thanks and welcome to the 6:15 News with me, Kejang Henry Atimbi. It is a pleasure to be with you. Our top stories. As Parliament flags off for the second ordinary session of the year, members of Parliament and senators will move to their respective offices without one of theirs. Senator Rebecca Ankie Afiamu is dead. She will not be part of the opening. The National Communications Council has cautioned media men and women to be responsible reporters as the country will face another election challenge. Those were our top stories.
Canal International. Canal International.
Henry Atimbe, thanking you for being there with us on the 6:15 News. And as you got in our lead story, Parliament will flag off tomorrow, 3rd March, for the second ordinary session. And so members of Parliament will be moving, as well as senators will be moving to Yaoundé without one of theirs. Senator Rebecca Ankie is no more. She died after an illness in Yaoundé. And so Senator Emilia, who has been playing a frontline role in the putting in place of the Bakassi Women Development Association and playing a leading role in politics in the southwest region of the country, particularly in Sagele, was on the list of those gunning for a term during this election. And as they will be moving to Yaoundé for the ordinary session, the absence of Senator Rebecca Ankie, as well as others who have gone before her, will actually be felt. We will be coming up with latest on her departure. And the National Communications Council has warned media men and women of responsible reporting, especially during these very critical times when Cameroonians will be facing going in for the senatorial election. The president of the National Communications Council, George Bonken Kalabopse, met with media men and women as well as media owners in Douala and some journalists to talk on the ethics of the profession, especially when it comes to elections reporting. We will just have an excerpt of the president of the National Communications Council, George Bonken Kalabopse. Well, we have information that, we will not be having George Bonken Kalabopse online. And now let's have this other major news item. The Minister of Communications, Rene Emmanuel Sadi, has warned that the violation of professional secrecy during interrogation and the death of Martinez Sogo will not be doing good to any lawyer as well as the journalists who have actually breached professional secret. Maureen D comes back to the outing of the Minister of Communications, Rene Emmanuel Sadi.
Lawyers and journalists have been warned on the dangers of violating the secrecy of judicial investigation on the Martinez Zogo murder case. Communication boss and government spokesperson Rene Emmanuel Sadi sounded the warning on March 1, 2023 in the latest on the breach of confidentiality of the proceedings. Lawyers hold mixed feelings on the outing of the communication minister.
Police investigations are secret. and whosoever participates in such investigations should keep that proceeding secret. So, and it is applicable to the lawyers. It's applicable to any counsel who may be present or any person that can be present.
It comes to remind us of the provisions of the law that investigations that are ongoing at the level of the police, at the level of the gendarmerie, and at the level of the examining magistrate, and at the level of the commissaire du gouvernement, the military tribunal, are supposed to be confidential.
Some lawyers are conscious of the fact that any breach of confidentiality of the proceedings may lead to criminal prosecution. Meantime, some claim they are doing their job.
In the penal code, there's what they call pre-judicial comments. We don't comment about an ongoing criminal proceedings before the investigators and during a preliminary inquiry.
Besides accusing lawyers of violating the sacrosanct role of judicial secrecy and procedural approach, the Minister of Communication also hits hard on journalists who comment on ongoing criminal proceedings before the investigative judge. Despite what looks like a threat, the journalists insist they must play their watchdog role.
It is the right of the citizen to have information. So the journalists who are there to inform the public are not violating the law.
It's not the first time the Minister of Communication is lashing out at the media for digging into a case that has not been judged. The minister's outing has brought to table the debate of excruciating problem of access to information, which is a huge impediment to journalism practice in Cameroon.
And the first ordinary session of Parliament for the legislative year 2023 opens tomorrow, Friday, March 3. And with the campaigns for the senatorial election ongoing, many are wondering how whether or not some of these senators will be out, will answer the call for the opening session. But then Beatrice Ngamo tells us that, of course, there are a lot of things to be considered, especially as the Electoral Code, as well as the Constitution, makes provisions for that.
Senate, like the National Assembly, will open for the first ordinary session of Parliament for the 2023 legislative year, tomorrow, Friday, March 3, 2023. The Constitution is clear. Senators of the second legislature are the ones covering the transitional period, that is from the convocation of the Electoral College to the entry into function of the new Senate to be elected March 12, 2023. The senators in function, those of the actual mandate, will be sitting tomorrow in all legality, especially as their mandate runs till midnight of April 10. They will be in session and managing campaigns at the same time. This for some kind of continuity of public service, according to experts. Since the first ordinary mass session of Parliament is often marked by the election of new bureau members at the National Assembly, like the Senate, a kind of political solution will come to play, one can assume, in relation to opportunity and to usefulness. The eldest and the two youngest members will chair the opening deliberation until election. But what is sure is that a new bureau will be elected during this March session and will stay till the new Senate is in place. The Constitutional Council, according to Section 241 of the Electoral Code, shall proclaim result of election of senators within 15 days following the close of polls, latest March the 27th, and 3 Tuesdays, that is 15 days after that, the proclamation of results. That is when the new session of the Senate will have to sit as of right, take function.
Very much, Beatrice, and in prelude to the upcoming Women's Day celebration, women in different sectors of the economy are preparing very seriously as they engage in week-long activities to mark the day. And so too are the women of the Ministry of Environment and Nature's Protection, as they are using ICTs to fight climate change. Hi, Cynthia.
Women and ICT to combat climate change was at the center of discussions during this conference, this March 2nd in Yaoundé, which brought together women of the Ministry of Environment, Protection of Nature and Sustainable Development, Global Youth Diversity Network, Little Angels of the Environment, and other female associations has built up to the celebration of the International Women's Day.
Our main expectation at this stage is to see how women of our ministry are able, to master these tools in line with information technology, and we have the mission to fight against climate change.
And with the growing modern technology, the links between ICT and climate change are clear.
To fight the negative impacts of climate change, we need to have the scenarios or the dynamics of the different parameters of climate change or the indicators. And if you have to monitor these, you consider working with what we call today big data. So you cannot manage or manipulate big data without the use of ICT tools.
And in the same light, the women continue sensitization at the explanade of the National Museum on the protection of the environment and the need to value natural products.
Hyacinth reporting there. Thanks very much, Hyacinth. And the administrative authorities of the Douala 5 district is on a sensitization tour to make sure they solve the recurrent problems that are linked with land succession and ownership. And so the sensitization caravan was led by the divisional officer for Douala 5 on the instructions of the Minister of Territorial Administration. Sherifa Saleh report.
Following numerous complaints from various chiefdoms of the Douala 5 districts, the divisional officer for this locality, under the authority of the Minister of Territorial Administration, carried out a sensitization tour on the mechanism of succession.
We have to work in collaboration with these villages to know the customs and to put them in the form of a document that will guide us in future. We are also concerned with the customs involved with the selection of notables, or what we generally call kingmakers.
Their first port of call was at the Bassa Palace of Ndogbon. The divisional officer Cletus Asongwe exchanged with Chief Gaston Bodzi and his council of elders on how to wrest the succession crisis.
We are also collecting the list of certified and acceptable kingmakers of all the villages in advance. All of these will constitute minutes, we'll put them in the form of minutes that all the stakeholders will sign, so that tomorrow, if there's any vacancy, we will not be looking left and right to find out who is notable, who is kingmaker. We'll just go straight, and this will ensure that there is transparency. Presenting the situation, the chief and the council of elders presented the different means of succession. The divisional officer applied same action at the Ndokoti and Bidi Palace.
Thanks, Sheriff, for reporting there. And members of the steering committee of the Inter-African Phytosanitary Council of the African Union have underscored the importance for Africans to protect plant health, which is a key aspect of food security. And met at the 16th steering committee meeting of the 30th General Assembly, as we report Ambo Gladys Diba.
Each year, up to 40% of global crop production is lost to plant diseases and invasive insects affecting food security, international trade, biodiversity, and the environment, according to the Food and Agricultural Organization. The food security situation is getting worse by the day in sub-Saharan Africa, reason why members of the steering committee of the Inter-African Phytosanitary Council of the African Union are meeting in Douala this March 2nd, 2023, to exchange and seek better solutions to current challenges of food security.
They are here to promote plant health and then ensure safety agricultural trade in Africa, because when we talk looking at the COVID-19 pandemic and the crisis in Ukraine, they are here to ensure that they solve the problem of food security.
The perspective in terms of what we are discussing today is how do we work together as a continent to reduce the non-tariff barriers, especially those related to phytosanitary issues.
The committee's main goal in the years ahead is to ensure Africa produces sufficient food for the growing population and avoid dependency.
We cannot continue to be dependent on import to feed our people. So we have to modernize our agriculture. We need to trade among ourselves. We need to increase production. And more importantly, government have to invest in agriculture. In Maputo in 2003, they took the commitment to invest 10% of their national budget in agriculture. They have to do that.
To meet the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals number 2, 8, 12, 13 and 15, members of the Inter-African Phytosanitary Council are therefore seeking ways of harmonizing actions to prevent the spread of plant pests.
And the Douala port is eventually whetting the appetite of the Qatari and Saudi business class. A delegation from the oil-rich states or kingdoms in Cameroon, particularly in Douala, to scout for investment opportunities. Amongst those areas they have spotted is the Douala seaport. Once more, Ambo Gladys.
A Qatari and Saudi Arabian business delegation is in Cameroon to scout for investment opportunities. Amongst their area of interest is the Douala Ports Authority, where at least 80% of Cameroon's logistics operations for foreign trade and that of landlocked countries are carried out. To attract more traffic and improve competitiveness, the port plans to expand its new site at the Manuka Island following the development master plan of the ports of Douala-Bonaberi. The project that was presented to the delegation needs huge investments. The business delegation from the oil-rich Gulf states has described the project as ambitious, emphasizing logistics is key element in economic development.
We understand that the port is one of the key drivers of the Cameroonian economic context, and this is in this particular situation that we are keen to see to support the Douala Authority in order to develop the project for the development and extension of the port. It is a grand vision, and we're glad MBS Global JD Euroway to be able to sustain and finance this project.
It was disclosed that by 2030, the port expects to complete 3 new berths to increase the capacity of the ports of Douala-Bonaberi by 23 million tons per year, and by 2050, equip 4 new container berths. Talking to the Qatari and Saudi Arabian delegation, the general manager of the Douala Ports Authority, Cyrus Ngo, said he hopes to see all this come to fruition with the impetus of investors.
And with this advert, since its implantation in Cameroon, the Cameroon Oil Transportation Company, Cliquez, has been doing much in its corporate social responsibility. In fact, one of such actions was rehabilitation of a school in which they have now received congratulations from that school administration and children. Details.
The Cameroon Oil Transportation Company, Cliquez, has inaugurated and handed over a building with 3 classrooms equipped with tables, benches, a teacher's office, as well as a toilet block at the Dumpla Secondary School, which was also rehabilitated and renovated. Inhabitants of the village, as well as 15 other surrounding villages in the Tuburo district, are expressing joy and gratefulness for the Cliquez generosity that has considerably improved their children's school environment. Founded in 2015, the Dumpla CES had suffered from a chronic lack of infrastructure for over 7 years. Before, we used to be very tied up in one class. I used this opportunity to thank Cliquez. Hence, our students shall obtain studies in a serene environment, protected from rain, hot wind, really its manners from heaven. In the locality, which hosts one of the technical installations of the Chad-Cameroon pipeline, the foundations of this modernized establishment started emerging from the grounds in 2016 thanks to COTCO. In 2017, it retroceded a first building of 3 classrooms, an achievement which will be followed by a building which served as on-call homes for the teachers. Except the learning conditions of the children in the area as well as their overall supervisions have significantly improved, and as a direct result, the number of enrolled students increased to the point where the 2-shift system had to be imposed for better accommodation of the 416 schoolgoers. COTCO, a civic-minded company with the commitment of the population and the administrative and traditional authorities of the Mayoray department in the northern region, have thus recorded a commendable achievement. We are really happy for what COTCO has done. It's a great step that shall impact our children's lives. We are in the second building of 3 classrooms built from the same seed. The goal is to have a full seat from 6e to 3e, and the village has boundaries with the pipeline. We are concerned about the socio-economic development of the populations living near the pipeline. In addition to its core business, COTCO has been involved in socially responsible activities since its creation in 1997, and education is one of the key pillars of the company's commitment to Cameroonian and its ambition of achieving emergence by 2035.
Well, thanks very much. And that at Victoria draws the curtain for this edition of the 6:50 News. I've been Kejang Henry Atembe. And of course, Lee Piju is coming up with Le Brief or Le Debrief. And of course, Michael Kipcho will be here for the 7:50 News. From all of us, it's goodbye from me.